Welcome to Mastering the Art of Real Estate. I'm your host, Debbie DiMaggio, and we are here today with someone from Down Under, Suzie Anderson Home. She is coming to us from Australia, and I first discovered Suzie through YouTube on her beautiful YouTube channel during COVID. During COVID, I was obsessed with YouTube, and I got very obsessed with her beautiful design aesthetic. So please welcome Suzie Anderson. Hi, Suzie. How are you?
Good morning. Hello.
Good. What time
Really
is it
well,
there?
thank you.
Is it
5
Saturday
p.m.
morning
So that I said good morning, good after
there? Good
Saturday
afternoon.
morning. Yes.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
Saturday morning. Well, thank you for getting up early on a Saturday to be with us. I'm just thrilled that you agreed to be on the show. And I have so many questions. So I'm sticking to a script because I don't know if we'll get through it all, but I have so many
Okay.
fun questions to ask you. So let's
Ask away.
introduce you.
Great.
All right. Suzie Anderson is the owner and interior stylist behind Suzie Anderson Home, a lifestyle emporium specializing in contemporary housewares, homewares, furniture, lighting, decor, art, and antiques. Co-owning the business with her partner David Condon, Suzie brings a deep understanding of the psychology of home, helping clients create spaces that truly feel personal and inviting. At the heart of her approach is her signature 5 L's of styling: lighting, layering, luster, living energy, and loved items, combined with carefully sourced unique pieces from around the world. By blending these elements with the client's own meaningful details, Suzie helps transform houses into personal havens that reflect individual stories and lifestyles. With 3 stores in Moss Vale and Bowral, New South Wales, Australia, and a strong online presence, including a successful YouTube channel, Suzie brings together classic European elegance, relaxed country charm, and coastal aesthetics to inspire and delight. Suzie strongly believes that when it comes to creating a home to love, the beauty is in the detail. I just love it. Welcome, welcome again, and so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you.
You're
Lovely to be
welcome.
here.
So let's dive in. Okay. I like to, whoever I'm interviewing, I always want to hear about where they came from, how they got to where they are now. Was it something that you did right out of high school or college? Was it, or did it you stumble upon it later in life by accident? So where did you grow up, and how did you get to where you are today in design?
Okay, so I was born in Hong Kong. My parents were working, or my father was working in advertising there. And then we moved back to Australia when I was a toddler. So not very long was I overseas, but we moved back to Sydney, and I grew up pretty much the same school, same friends, the whole way through to high school. But in the late, where was it, early 80s, when I finished high school, they didn't really sort of promote a lot of jobs that were an interest to me at the time. It was like, well, you could be this, that, and the other. It was quite limited. And my father was in advertising. So I just said, oh, that sounds exciting. So I went and got a job in advertising and worked my way up into media buying, and then traveled overseas and discovered another part of media, and moved over to the publishing side. So I ended up working with some lovely fashion titles and women's titles, which was very exciting as an early 20s girl. So I then got married and we did up homes. So that's really how I entered into the interior space. My parents were very creative when I was growing up, so they were always either restoring cars, cross stitching, sewing. There was always a creative activity at home, and my mum styled the house beautifully and entertained, so well. I think it was that time living overseas, and they were well travelled, so they incorporated a lot of their beautiful pieces from their travels, and it was a very neutral aesthetic. So I grew up with a very calm palette, and that's how I got into design, really by accident, but discovered that was an absolute passion.
I love it. Well, I was going to ask you what, so that's interesting. So your mom, they had a very neutral palette, because that was one of the questions we'll get, well, we can talk about it now, is there's the beautiful that I like, the calm aesthetic, the neutral colors. So you grew up in that. So you grew up in that sort of environment. So your mom seemed to be fast forward ahead in her design aesthetic.
Very much so. I think that it allowed their pieces from travel to really be the accent of the home. So it was pretty much, we lived in 3 homes as I was growing up, and each of them had a very calm, soft palette. But then they would introduce a piece of art or sculpture from their trips, and that became the color and the interest in those loved pieces that I talk about that really make a house a home. So
Wow.
I
So
think,
really
yeah,
learned a
that was
lot from
special.
your mom. Yeah, from your mother and her the way. So even though you didn't know you were going to do it later, you were already being educated throughout your
Oh,
life.
totally, totally. And I did love changing my room around. I do remember that. They say that I was extremely messy, but I would go in spurts of being really tidy and spend a weekend changing my room around. And that was just such a great way to start a school week, going, oh, my bedroom's in a different position and it feels great. And I'll bring in some flowers from the garden. And that was
Oh,
at an early age. So I think mum had a lot to influence me on that.
oh yeah. That's what I was going to ask. What's the palette and what is the palette of your home now today? Or is it changing?
It's probably changing with little bit more color, but I'd say that's through flowers and plants. I'm very big on, I think COVID, that was the start of that, bringing a lot more greenery into the home and whatever's seasonal in the garden, bringing that in. But generally, I'm still committed to a pretty neutral palette and letting art add some color, or textiles add some color. But then I can
Love
change it seasonally, and that works for me.
I love that. So, with that, that was one of my questions was about plants. So, I like a neutral palette too, and I do not have a green thumb at all. So, I have a couple plants that are in my house right now that are actually have lived for quite some time. But can you
Oh,
tell
well
us
done.
two things? One is in all of your styling on your beautiful YouTube channel, Suzie Anderson Home, so everyone knows. Um,
Thank you.
are you using a mix of real and faux flowers? And what are your favorite real and plants or flowers so that lasts for someone who might not have a green thumb?
Because I have retail stores, it's important for me that in every space that there is living energy.
Okay,
But because that's a lot of maintenance for my staff, because one of the stores we have 10 rooms, so to keep the upkeep of fresh flowers and the expensive fresh flowers
right.
doesn't always work economically. So we will take a particular plant called ruscus, ruscus, and I buy that every single week from the flower market. And that will last in some spaces. It's a cut green leaf and it's beautiful. And I will have that throughout the shop, throughout my home. And it could last for 6 months in a vase, just refresh the
Wow.
water. But into
Okay.
that, I will put faux hydrangea branches, or faux peonies, or depends what the flower is of the season. But you would be
Okay.
hard pressed to think that it wasn't real. So I think
Right.
that having that green energy throughout, so that is a particularly good one. Palm leaves also last quite a long time.
Sorry, are you mixing the faux with the real, or is that separate?
Yes, both,
Mixed.
both. But
Okay.
generally, I can have a vase with water with the ruscus, the fresh in it, and then put in 3 to 5 stems of a faux
I love
flower.
that. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
And
that
then you
works
went on
really
to
well.
the next one
Yep.
and you
And then
started to
I'd
say,
also and palms, yeah, there's a local palm here called Burrowang palm, and it's really tall reaching, it's beautiful and architectural. So I'll put that into really tall vases, and that's a beautiful way to fill a space and give height to a room as well. And that's also long lasting. So,
okay.
and then within that, fresh potted greenery like fiddle leaf figs, other ferns, and a lot of.
I just bought a faux fiddle leaf.
Aha,
I
great.
love
Also good for
those.
property styling.
For property
Very good
styling.
for
Yes.
property styling. Yeah.
Yeah. I had one of our listings, we had a couple of them. It what it was kind of like feng shui, but she uses essence, and there was a plant, and I can't remember the name. It was anyway. She said, "No, get that plant out and get." I guess she must have said a fiddle leaf or something, and she says, "Get that plant out
Yeah.
and get a different one." So I did, and that house is now pending and closes next week. But I,
It's down to the fiddly fig.
yeah, and she also said to bring in some fresh flowers and things. And anyway, but I love what you've said so far, and I do like all those, especially the hydrangeas and um, uh, the fiddle leaf and the palms. They're beautiful. So that is super helpful because I was on your show, a few of your shows this morning, looking. So okay, we got your bedroom. I have so many. So okay, you have, I don't know, hundreds of beautiful YouTube videos. So where do all those photographs come from? There are so many, and one is just as nice as the other. So are these homes that you've
Uh,
curated and designed, or do you pull from other places?
we pull, so probably 50% would be from either our work, so within the stores or within my home, and otherwise it'll be credited to other designers around the world that will have
Right.
the right aesthetic for that particular video. So we always credit them because often I would say 50% of our audience actually is in America. So when they
Okay.
ask us, oh, where can I get that sideboard? Or I love that piece of art, we
Right.
credit it back to the designer so that they can make contact with them, or we'll link them in the show notes so that they can ask them specifically where they might have got that particular piece.
Nice.
So
Because
a mix of both.
yeah, I was wondering because you're in Australia, and well, I didn't know that before. I just watched your show, but and
Uh-huh.
then you did Hampton style in Southampton and the Hamptons of New York. So I
Yeah.
was wondering, where and do you so where's the territory you cover? Will you go to? I know you have the stores, but if someone wants to hire you, where are some places you've traveled to work with people?
Well, because I'm running the store, I pretty much stay within New South Wales. I've done some remote work online, but it's much better for me to be able to go directly to the home, see the light, meet the family. But remote can work as well if it comes down to Zoom calls or beautiful photos to be able to work with a client. Um, so yes, as far as visiting homes, it's within New South Wales.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah.
I'd imagine I'm visual. So would someone give you a floor plan of their home, and then would they have professional photos taken so you can see their room? Because I would think you'd need more than just walking through a room with an iPhone.
Generally, a combination of both is good. I don't need professional photos, just room shots from a few different angles
Okay,
and video, a walkthrough to pull it all together to look at scale and look at where the windows are and things like that. Floor plans are helpful as well,
right.
um, but just photographs. I'm very visual. I don't know about you, but when you walk
Yes.
in to see client's home that you're about to sell, your eye quickly does an assessment of the space, and you can very much go, oh, if we just tweak that there. Because I do like
Right.
working with what people have already and then
Okay.
incorporating other elements. I don't feel that you need to erase everything unless somebody says, I am over this, it's all inherited, I'm ready
Right.
to move on. I like to incorporate things that they already have and then just tweak it and add elements rather than
Yeah, it's
remove.
amazing. You can take something that you might not love, but then the way you design it could be, or arrange it could just be, and then it becomes your favorite piece. I love that. We're going to go to a quick commercial break.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back with
Okay,
Suzie
great.
Anderson. Welcome back to Mastering the Art of Real Estate. I'm your host, Debbie DiMaggio. We are here with Suzie Anderson from Australia. So, Suzie, as a realtor, I'm not designing for personally, I'm designing for the masses. I want to bring in as many people as I can to the home. So I want to make it neutral so they can envision if they have bright art or if they have, whatever their style and taste is. So I always do a whole room in white dove, the white to make it bright to reflect light. Is there any color I guess let's talk about for staging a home, what color would you recommend? And for someone to live in a home, obviously we don't need to go crazy on that, but if there's a neutral color that you like for someone who's living in a home, and then the staging color, would you
Mm.
recommend?
I also do like a white. There's a white that I use a lot, which is from a company called Dulux, and it's called neutral white because it's a white that doesn't throw yellow, doesn't go too cool and blue. It just has a lovely warmth and looks great with all types of timbers. And if I was recommending for a color to work with in a home, I still think that as a permanent color, but then you might have some accents in a room that might be a den that could be a darker color like linseed, which is a putty grey color, which adds a bit of depth and interest. Wallpaper, I'm quite mad on wallpaper as well, because really, if you get sick of it, you can, same with paint, you can transform it. But I think to create a mood and an atmosphere, wallpaper is fabulous. But I would commit to that more if I was living in the space rather than styling it to sell. So I
Right,
do
right,
agree that a neutral backdrop when you're selling works well, and it gives you that continuity throughout each space, and then just allow your furnishings and art to add the color rather than suddenly we're in the blue room and then we're in the red room and it's just
right,
discombobulating. I think
right.
keep it
It's too
calm. You want your
much.
yes,
That's
yes.
great. No, I'm meeting with a client, and today later, and she said, "Oh, I sent her a photo of what I like to use. I always like to use white for all those reasons." And she's like, "Well, isn't that boring?" So I thought, well, I'm gonna quote you instead of quoting myself. White, white for
Yes.
selling.
Yes, I think for selling, I think you want to. We've got an apartment at the moment. We're wondering whether to sell or not, and I've got this wallpaper I've been saving, thinking, oh, that would look so good. It's a beautiful, um, scenic print, but it's a commitment. And
Right,
some people would love it because it's so evocative, and others would go, oh, I'd love that place, but it was just got that wallpaper on it. I can't see past it. And even though
right,
it's a quick fix, some people, they don't know that and they just see, I don't like that wallpaper or that color. Instead of going, you and I would walk into a space and go, oh, the colors are crazy, but I'll
yes,
just paint it out and look at the shape and form
absolutely.
and the light. So I think if you're repainting to sell, keep it neutral.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
find a
No, I
nice
agree.
white that's
The wallpaper is fun, and I love that you don't have to commit to it. And I'm thinking of doing our powder room, but there's so many choices, so I'm just stumped on what to do. But so, how did you start your YouTube channel? Who executes it? It is so beautiful. Do you have a big team? Give us a little bit of a process of it because it is stunning.
okay. So that came about when you discovered it in during
Oh,
lockdown,
okay.
because we had a website, but it wasn't particularly online here wasn't as mad as it is now. And so we had a functional website, but it wasn't representative of how our store is. So my daughter had just finished uni. She studied psychology and her partner also. And they were just saying, really, Suzie, you should do a bit more. We've got a bit of time now. So they created the background to our website. And then they understood the psychology of purchasing and having a relationship with customers, and it goes beyond just a static website. You really need to have movement and you need to have voice. And so my daughter created the first YouTube and said, I've created this and
Oh,
I've just put it out there. So let's see how it goes. And then I loved it, and I just loved the combination of music and education and inspiration. And so I
oh,
said, keep going, keep going. And she works with us full time, and
wow.
we work together every second week we physically get together. She lives in Sydney and I live in the country, and that has been the evolution of that. And it's just we get together and plan the topics for the year. We ask our viewers, what would you like to see more of? And then we create a schedule and come up with content. So she'll come down to the store and take lots of photos and video footage. And I'm trying to get better at being in front of the camera. Occasionally you see me sneaking, putting a vase in, or but I do want to connect with my audience, so I have to get better at being in front of the camera. But generally, we come together like that, and then she creates a script, and I modify it and personalize it, and then come the photos. So that's how that works. Every second Friday we have the video.
It's
But I'm glad you
spectacular.
love it.
You really, your brand comes across. You're so warm. You have such a nice, soothing voice. So whatever time of day you're going to listen to it or watch your show, it's your voice is just so soothing, and you
Thank you.
just feel so welcoming. And I don't like to get in front of the camera like that either, talking to a camera, but it works
Yeah.
for you. And yes, it'll be great when you do get in front of the camera, but it really works because you're watching this. There's so many beautiful rooms, and it's not like you're stuck on one for, you go through it not fast, but not slow, not too slow. So you just get so much in one episode. So I highly recommend it. And
Thank you very much.
that's fun to know the journey, because that was so overwhelming. Like, how do you do this? So you do have, and it really makes sense with all the things, the voice and the pattern and the music, it all goes together. So tell your daughter it's brilliant, and her partner.
Thank you. Thank you. I will.
You're welcome. So just some words today as I was watching this morning. Tell us what functional beauty is.
Functional beauty is, I like to create homes that are livable. So you
Okay.
have to understand who lives there. How do you want to feel in a space? It's very important that you don't just have everything looking beautiful, but you can't put a coffee cup down. You can't put, I have a customer at the moment that I'm working with their family to create a beautiful home, and they've got a lovely lounge room, but nowhere to put your feet. So he's putting his feet on things that his wife doesn't want him to. And I'm going, but let's find a space, because it's natural. We all do. We've got coffee tables in front of our lounge. It's not hygienic, but we end up putting our feet on it. So it's having that function and beauty. So having the right pieces where you feel like you can come in, people feel welcomed, and not feeling like you're in a museum or a space that you can't touch. You look at who lives there. How do you want it to feel? Because some people do live that way, that they're very minimal and precise, and it functions for them, where others have 3 teenagers and a dog or grandchildren. And so you have to find a way that you can balance practicality and beauty. So that might be the textures you use. It might be the fabrics you use on sofas. They might be slip covered so that you have a spare set. So it is functional, but you could go, oh, I love the way my space looks, but I'm not afraid when people come over, or it's easy to tidy because I've got lots of storage facilities. So I put away, bring out. It's balancing that function and beauty.
I
Being
love that.
mindful there.
And then, so we have 2 kitties now, and the kitties have ruined quite a few of our things. Is there a way to live with cats?
Do you know, Deb, we lost our dog 2 years ago and our cat 6 months ago. And it's the first time, for 35 years that I haven't had pets in the home. And I know that we will, but we're living in this little moment of saying this is our go-go years, where if we want to stay an extra night somewhere, or we want to jump on a plane and go somewhere, we don't have to sort of coordinate the animals. But I miss having animals in the home terribly. The one thing that I don't miss is hair, dog hair, cat hair, and the scratching of the corner of a new armchair. So got very good at having throws, lots of throws rolled up in a basket, or that we would have always on the lounge to drape over the lounge. And you try to have designated areas, but that's really not functional. I think in some ways you have to have a really good vacuum. Maybe if you can afford a cleaner to come through and do a deep clean once a month. But I would vacuum every day because I don't like seeing the tumbleweeds of dog hair. You don't wear black a lot because you don't want the hair to go on you. But I think that's what makes a home is those little personalities and the small sacrifice for the joy. But I do think that having a parlor throws putting on your onto your lounges and armchairs and to your bed and wherever, and a good vacuum.
Right, exactly. Yes, our Dyson is our best friend.
Ah, so good, so quick. Yeah.
So on a similar topic of functional beauty, um, I was watching something this morning. Explain what you mean, your home's moods. You said write down the rooms in your house and how you want them to feel. Entryway, your exercise room, your living room, dining room. Elaborate on
Yes.
that a little
Yes. Well, this comes from more recently. I think in that particular video we quoted Steve Cordoni, who is a fabulous Australian designer. And he's just released a book, Moments at Home. And in that, instead of just having the topics of his book, the entryway, the dining room, he would say for the dining room, celebrate, or the entryway, welcome. So it's really standing back and thinking, okay, if I've got a study, how do I want that room to feel? So it might be the place that you go and you say knowledge, or you might say inspiration, or you might say quiet because you want to have one room. It might be your craft room, so you go create. So you really start with how do you want to use that space,
bit. Okay.
and if you give it a title like that, it's already setting up for that feeling of, ah, this is my little haven. I'm going to come in and I'm going to, when I'm in this space, it's my time. How do I want to decorate it to feel like it's got my personality? The bedroom might be, you might be sharing, or it might be calm, or so therefore you set up a calm palette, you set up beautiful scents, you set up a sound system so you can have music. So you start with the vision and then follows the application.
I love that. I love that the way you described that. That was very cool. I was writing away. Um,
Okay.
so there's some little pointers that I love. Like, so I meant to text you this morning, but so I loved what you were talking about rug placement. I know people always have a different opinion about where to place a rug. So let's
Mm.
talk so I have in my dining room, I do not have a rug right now. I love
Mhm.
seagrass and I love a neutral palette, but I also love pops of pink for my own home, not for selling a home.
Mm. Mm.
So, but I want to get a rug for my dining room. So,
Yeah.
I want to know the layout because I get stumped with chairs. If you pull out the chairs, so are you now filling the whole room? So let's talk about a dining room table and chairs.
Yes. So have you got a rectangular dining
Yes.
table?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So for me, the type of material for one is quite important, because if you are bringing chairs in and out, how will that wear and tear on that particular material? If you have pets and children or anybody that's sort of more likely to spill, you want to think, is it cleanable? So the type of material is important, and will chairs sit comfortably on it? It looks beautiful in a photo to see a really shaggy sort of carpet under a dining table, but a bit of a cleaning nightmare, and also getting chairs comfortably in and out.
Yeah.
So the material, you want to allow enough space. Maybe, I mean, I'm in centimeters. I'm not sure you're in inches, I think,
Yeah,
in
we're an
America.
inch.
But okay, but you want to allow enough space to comfortably have the chair on the rug and when you're moving it out. So let's say 70 centimeters, 60 centimeters, which I think is about 25 to 30 inches. Would that be about right? I'm sorry, I'm not too sure.
No, no, okay. So visually, so the chair is tucked in, but when you take it out, how much space should be? So is that when you take the chair, move the chair out to, um, you're
You
moving the
you,
chair out a
you
little
can
bit. Is more room? Is it still on the whole carpet?
It can be, it depends on the size of the space in your room. A lot of rooms don't have that generosity of space to be able to
Okay.
be the rug and the table and the chairs are all on the rug when you allow for that getting in and out of the space. If you can, that's great, but at least the front legs and sorry, the
Okay.
seat is on. So if you have to move it back, but the front legs are still on the rug, I think that's ideal. But you don't
Okay.
want it just so the legs of the table are on it and the chairs are all sticking out because really there's no point. So the
Okay.
rug can be used to zone your dining space. So it is lovely if you've got that extra area that can at least have the seat and the front legs on the
Okay.
yeah.
I love that. I've always been wondering, how is it really supposed to be? So that is awesome. The other
Yeah.
question I have is about hanging drapes or linen shears or
Yes.
floor
Yes. Yeah.
covering.
So again, I do like where you can hang the rod close to the ceiling and allow for a longer drape. I think to have a little bit of puddling on the floor is quite a generous look. Certainly not short from touching the floor. It's really important that it definitely touches the floor when you're hanging a curtain. But I do think if you can raise that curtain rod above the architrave and give more length of fabric, it's quite an elegant and draws the eye up, making the space feel a bit taller than it possibly is. It's a bit hard sometimes in rentals because you don't want to take it out and drill further up the wall. So sometimes you've got restrictions like that. But if possible, yeah, allowing a higher drape and definitely some puddling on the floor.
And so if you're, let's say you're the top of your window ends here, it's okay to go all the way up even that much higher.
It is. It
Okay.
is. Yes, it is. Yeah. But again, it's within different circumstances. If you have an extremely high ceiling, you may not want to go all the way up if your window is down. It's down to scale, but certainly you don't have to have it just a couple of inches above the window. I think if you can allow it to be grander, and if that's the feel that you want, I do like it to be quite a way above the window, closer to the ceiling, for that sense of drawing your eye up and making the space feel more lofty than
Right. I
potentially it
love
is.
it. And then would you, it seemed like, would puddling be something for more traditional? And if you're more modern, no puddling, or are you always supposed to do a little puddle?
No, well, as long as it's touching the floor, you don't want to think, oh, this is practical. I'll have the curtain up from the floor because I can clean better.
Okay.
It's just no.
Touching.
Rest it on a chair or something while you're vacuuming, but touching the floor definitely.
Right.
Personally, I'm not a fan of curtains that some end up somewhere halfway up the wall just because they cover the window,
Right.
and that's the you could buy at the shop. It's sort of like, let's look at another alternative. But definitely, if you're having a curtain that it touches the floor,
Okay.
doesn't need to puddle. That can tend to be a bit more of a luxurious or a European look where you've got beautiful linen and it puddles on the floor. The thing is with linen, sometimes it's great when you install it, but it will give and stretch over time. So you don't want it suddenly to have excess fabric on the
Okay.
floor. So just measuring that correctly, but please let the curtain touch the floor.
I
That's
love that.
really important to me.
I know. I have very strict guidelines for things that I do too, so I love that. So
Yeah.
actually, let's go to commercial break and then we're going to come back and we're
Okay.
going to talk about the 5 L's of styling. We'll be right back.
Fabulous. Great.
Welcome back to Mastering the Art of Real Estate. I'm your host, Debbie DiMaggio. We are here with Suzie Anderson Home from Australia. So, Suzie, tell us about the 5 L's of design. 5 L's of, is
Five
it
L's of styling. Yeah.
5 L's of styling? I love
Okay.
this.
It's something that I use and I naturally was using within a space, but I wanted to teach our team at work that if you quickly have to style up a space in the store, these are the elements that pretty much you can pull together a great vignette if you have these 5 L's. Which is lighting, loved items, luster, layered, where are we? Lighting, luster, layered, loved, and living energy, which we talked about before.
Right.
So we can look at a space and we can walk into a room, and it might be the one thing that's missing is some living energy. So if we start with living energy, that is what we were talking about before. It could be in the form of pine cones, it could be coral, it's something from the earth that has a special energy about it. So if you're creating a coffee table styling, that's one element you want to have, something that is living. And it also gives a freshness to the space. So that pop green or a beautiful rose will add a lovely living energy. Then your lighting. So we have different types of lighting. A lot of times it's, oh yeah, we have lighting, we have an overhead light. That's very functional and very practical, but it doesn't create a mood. And I'm all about walking into a space and having a feel about your space that you're within. So what about some task lighting, some mood lighting? So is there candle light? Is there a desk light? Is there a beautiful light over your piece of art to spotlight an architectural feature? So lighting is really important for ambience and practicality. So it comes back to that form and function. You need to be able to see when you need to see, but flip off that overhead light and have lamp lighting at that mid-level, which brings it into a more intimate space. And on a coffee table, that could be battery operated candles if you're worried about children or pets. So just having that flickering flame is very, very inviting. And then we have loved items, which is what I talked about before with my past, with my growing up with a traveled interior. Having something that is not looking like a cookie cutter, everybody's house looks the same. It could be something that it could be a favorite color that you introduce, or a textile, or um, an object of your travels, something to remind you of the past, something that makes you feel really special. And it could be something you found on the side of the road. It doesn't have to be expensive, but you love it. So
I love
having
that.
that incorporated into a space, layers so that you have different heights and scale, whether it's on your bedside table, on your coffee table, on your entranceway console. Let's not keep everything the one height. So sometimes it could be your fresh greenery gives you scale. That's giving you a
Okay.
height, and then you come down to a little pile of books, and then you might have a dish for your keys. So you've got three different heights of and scale. So layering could also be of textures. So where we're talking before about having a rug under a table, it's got a texture. And then you have the layering of napery on the table, and you might have a placemat. Then you layer that with a rattan placemat. You have cutlery, you have an underplate. So again, it's giving you a little bit of height to a dining table, coffee table. On your bed, you can lay a throw rug over the end of your doona, add some Euro pillows. So it's building up a story using textiles and materials. And so luster is also really important to ensure that a room doesn't feel flat. And luster comes through the metallic finishes that you might use, uh, knobs and tail rails that has luster, a beautiful ceramic vase, glass vase, a mirrored box. Those things, a mirror in a room bounces light, adds energy, and it just stops a room feeling very flat. So they're my that's my blueprint for
I love
design. Literally, what is missing from this space that doesn't feel right? You'd
it.
look at
Right.
one of those elements and incorporate it, and it tends to bring it all together.
I love it. It's so true. So I was going to ask about this, kind of goes with what you just said, but just to bring it up, is the rule of threes, is that true? The rule of threes, like when you're doing arrangements on a coffee table or a end table?
I do look at the rule of three. I think styling in odd numbers, it's very settling for your eye. The three or five or seven, but
Okay.
generally coming down to a rule of three. Particularly, it depends on the size of your space. A bed table, it works well to have the rule of three. So you've got your lamp, maybe a carafe, and then a vase of flowers. On a coffee table, you can divide it into sections, and you can have three or five uh, sort of vignettes to create visual interest for your eye. But keeping everything in odd numbers, just in odd numbers, seems to allow your eye to rest and have enough interest to make it, yeah, interesting, visually interesting.
I love that. I'm constantly rearranging everything in my house. Thank God my husband is not blind, because he would kill himself. 'Cause somehow I become humanly so strong that I move things that are not humanly possible for me. But somehow,
Oh,
while
good
while
on
he
you.
while he's sleeping, I'm rearranging. I moved once a
Totally
table
get
in
it.
my living room, I think, to put it in my dining room, or vice versa. And I had to take it apart, and there were two stairs I had to somehow, and I did. I don't know how I did it, but
I love it, Dev. Well done.
it's
I
so fun.
totally agree. It's a bit like that in our shop when a lady comes in to buy something and she just says, "I'll get it into my car. I will magically get that into the car and take it home," because she said, "I don't want to have to ask my husband to come and get it because we won't get it." It's a
Right.
very funny thing. And I'm the same with moving. I just go, "I can do it. I don't need to enlist help," because you don't want to hear, "No, we don't need to move it.
It
Fine
can be
where it
done
is."
right now.
Good on you. That sounds really
Oh,
energetic.
I know. I love it. I love design. It's so fun. So let's see. Oh my gosh. How can we elevate our mood in a home? Tell us how we, and then also tell us how we implement reflective surfaces.
Okay, so the mood is very important. How the psychology of home. I mean, it's the one place that you want to go to feel really secure, really safe, really at your best. You want to come home and just go, oh, I can be truly me, and I'm surrounded by the things, and the way that the house is represented is the essence of me. So I think sometimes it doesn't require anything more than decluttering,
Mhm.
having a clean space that isn't pulling at you all of the time to be, oh, now you've got to do this, now you've got to do that. Just having a calm oasis. So, having the right lighting, having those elements that I talked about before really do impact how you feel. If it's having a signature scent, so when you walk in the door or walk into your living space, you go, when I get home and I smell my favorite scent, that already makes me feel something. Or playing a piece of music when you're cooking. Instead of, I don't want to cook dinner tonight, you put on some great Italian music or
Right.
something from a Nancy Myers movie, and you're going, oh, suddenly I
Right.
feel different in this space.
Nice.
So I use that all the time. Just the ritual of lighting a candle on the mantelpiece or on the coffee table. Those little things can just make you feel so much better.
It's
So
abs-
I do think setting the tone. We have people staying with us at the moment, and I love welcoming people. And so from the mood lighting out on the veranda when they get there, just lighting a candle and a lantern by the door, coming in and just in the hallway, in the living space, it smells great. Their bedroom lights are already on. There's a fresh flower by the bed. It's the transformation of they've just arrived 2 hours in the car. Ah, you come in. It's not quite ready for a fire yet, but normally I'd have the fire going, and there's cheese and bickies on the coffee table, and you just go, "Oh, thank you so much." It's a welcome, it's a generosity to people who come, but you give yourself that same sense of, I don't need to do that only when people come. Do it to
right.
myself when I come home, and it really improves relationships. It gives you peace of mind, lets you rest well. So all very important things, I think, to
Very
affect the mood.
much. I
And
love
your
that.
other question?
Yeah. Oh, go
And
ahead.
the other
Oh,
question was on lustrous surfaces, was it? What was
oh
the?
no, reflective surfaces. I saw something today. It was reflective surfaces, and I think it was more like mirrors and um,
Yes.
yeah, just go into the design aesthetic of the reflective surfaces and how we incorporate it. And if someone's listening to this, okay, I'm going to go do that with this, or I'm going to buy this. Give us a tutorial, something
Yes.
to implement.
Okay, so that incorporates that sense of luster again, where and light, because um, strategic placing of mirrors really does add light and luster to a space. So I think any time that you can amplify natural light, so if you can't have a huge mirror, you might be able to put a small mirror into a bookcase. So again, it just bounces back light. Um, Beside your beds, you could above your chest of drawers, again, if it's a dark space but you get a little bit of natural light, that will amplify the light, energize the space. So wherever you can incorporate a mirror, just be mindful of what it's reflecting,
Right.
because if it's reflecting clutter, not such a great thing. If it's reflecting the trees outside, or a beautiful piece of art, again, it's making a room have visual interest, adding light, adding depth to the space, making a room feel bigger. They're all, if that's the desired effect. I think it's really important. And if you can't incorporate a mirror, sometimes it's reflective surfaces like a mirrored side table, or even a mirrored box. It's just a play of light, and adding a bit of luster and a little bit of glamour to a space, and stops things feeling too flat.
I love it. I love mirrors because I love you can have so many different frames. It could be frameless or it could be just the whole. I like to do like a wall of different mirrors with different frames. I just think that's
I
mirrors are so
love that look. I love that look.
so
And
beautiful.
sometimes, if you have people sitting, you might have a beautiful window with a view that certain people who are sitting at the table get to see that,
Right.
but the people sitting opposite just see a dead wall. That's where a mirror can allow both parties to see that view. And if you don't want just a full mirror, you might have a grid pattern. So it's sort of diffused, it's broken up into little squares, but you still have that sense of reflection, and we're both sharing that fabulous view.
Absolutely.
So,
I have a huge project that I know I can't do. I have a huge French not poster, but a huge piece of art with a huge frame. And I mean, I think it's going to take three people to move it, but I really want to move it to another space because I want to put a mirror there because we have a beautiful view of the San Francisco Bay. And so I know when I tell my husband I want to do this, he's going to hem and haw, but I want to move that there, and then I want to get a mirror there, and I want to do exactly what you just said.
I'm sure he will love it when it's done.
Yeah.
It's worth the effort. If you I mean, I'm from the sounds of things, if you've got the view over the bay, everybody wants to share in that. Have you got another spot for the art?
I do. It's really so I'll have to text you to you later, but it's a
I'd love
big,
to see it.
very tall. And so there's a little alcove. So I think I measured and I'm pretty sure it can fit in there. It'll be on the ground leaned back, which I don't mind. And it
No.
fits space because it's very big, but I'm pretty sure it'll fit there because I want to put the mirror here so it reflects the view. And then I was looking into wallpaper that you can actually create your own wallpaper. Do you know about,
Ah,
and
yes,
have you,
yes, it's brilliant.
so
I've
I,
not done it.
have you done it?
I have not done it. No,
Yeah,
no, but
I'll
apart
give
from
you the
changing a
person,
color.
the person, and
Yeah.
I think he's in Europe somewhere, but I'm a big manifester and I love words and fonts. I'm obsessed with font
Ah,
letters. And
I
so
appreciate that.
I want to do, I have all my favorite places that I love in the world, St. Bart's, Saint-Tropez, London, Paris, whatever. So found I actually just went on I found a font that I liked and I just kind of screenshot it. I wrote the word, screenshot it, put it in Canva. I was just trying to give him a visual idea of what I,
Wow.
and he took what and it was places, but also words like kindness and um, different words like that, inspiration, and those sorts of words mixed in with these places. And so I want,
Oh, how unique. Great.
So I'm working.
And
I
he
want to.
he understood you, and then he's
That's
turning that
just
into
what I
wallpaper.
did. And I
Yeah.
said, pink background to match this with either gold, black, or white words. And then I think it ended up looking that the black words may look better. I'll send it to you. And
Oh,
I'll
please do.
we'll do a FaceTime for sure so I can take you through. So it's been sitting there. I haven't committed yet because I have to move some things because I need paint. I need something to move because of the coloring. But anyway, it's
Oh, how magical. There's your loved item. So
yes,
it's
exactly.
really,
And I have,
really special.
yeah, and speaking of loved and older things, like there was it's a console table, a round, what do you call them? It's like a round console table, I guess. And it was my grandmother's, and it was an antique brown with a red leather, but that wasn't my color. So I had
Yeah.
it refinished black, and then we got rid of and then blacked over as well, the top. So I love that piece because it's beautiful. I just didn't like the
Yeah.
antique look of it, and
Yeah.
it's just a beautiful piece. So
And
it's
I
his.
love that repurposing. I think that's so
Yes,
special that sometimes people do inherit pieces, and of course there's a value to it that you sort of think, wow, am I ruining this by
right, right,
affecting it? But if it was going to be sent to the tip and it's just, or to a secondhand store, there are so many things. We have Annie Sloan paints, and you can weave your magic with a coat of paint, and it totally transforms. We had holiday houses over the last few decades, and it was a stretch to get the holiday house. So to furnish it meant flea markets and secondhand stores and off the side of the road and repainting and repurposing, and they'd become some of your most favorite pieces in the end because you've put time and energy into it and you love it, and it's good for the environment.
right,
Recycling furniture is
absolutely.
really, really. So that sounds beautiful. What color did you paint it? Was it black?
I did black, yeah. I had
Yeah,
everything from
gorgeous.
was very modern, and everything was black and white. And now when we moved,
Yeah.
from when the kids grew up and we moved, I refinished. And I do, if I like a piece, I want to keep it because I don't want to throw it away. If it's good, and it was quality, the sofas were
Mm.
quality, everything. So and what I learned from the upholsterer is like, he said, yes, I can take that chair and we can get rid of, I didn't think of this, but like there was a flap at the bottom, which was kind of dated. So he said, oh, I can change the legs. We can get rid of the flap.
Mm.
So I kept the pieces, and I did a white linen restoration hardware type white sofa. This was before the kitties. And
Yes, yes,
then
yeah.
did two club chairs in bright pink, magenta. I looked at velvet, so I looked forever to find the exact color I wanted, and to
Oh,
bring
it
in.
sounds great.
So very fun. And I just painted we just had the cabinets in our kitchen painted pink.
You do love pink. That's your
I did.
favorite
It's the
color.
walls are white, and then the cabinets are pink with uh, gold knobs, bronze, brass
Oh,
knobs,
brass. Yep.
and I couldn't decide. I had all different colors, testing the different colored pinks and magentas. Do I match the art? Do I match the chair? And then I ended up matching the Smeg blender and toaster exactly.
So that's a smeg pink, is it? I'm just
Yeah,
wondering what color pink you went with. Is it really
it's
soft
like
blush pink? I'm trying
it's
to
soft.
picture.
Yeah. It's soft. It's a
Yeah,
lighter, and it's but the funny thing is, because you always think you just can't, I want to, our house is painted white and I want to paint it again white just to have it, after 5 years, you want it just to clean it up again.
fresh.
But
Yeah,
even the pink actually for some reason makes it brighter than just the white cabinets. I don't know why.
interesting.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
it's just the doors. I didn't paint everything, just the doors. So I'd still have enough white
I
contrast.
love that. I love that. That's so beautiful. I'm helping a lady with her apartment in Sydney, and they've got their family home in the country and this apartment for when she works in Sydney. And it's that feminine touch, and that pale, pale pink is the thread. And it was inspired by a piece of marble. And she said it had this tiny thread of pink in it. What do you think? And I said, love it. Let's go with the pink. Just pink touches, soft pink wallpaper. Um, because her
Great.
family have to come there as well, her husband and sons, and so
Right.
it's that. just beautiful. So I totally resonate with where you're going or where you've been with your pink.
It's fun.
Gorgeous.
When I'm working with a client, I say because a lot of times the clients love what they have,
Yeah.
and so what I will say to them, I say, well, I we all have our own styles. I would not put my house on the market looking the way it is, but the same with your house. We have to neutralize it and make it more appealing to the masses. No one's going to come in my house and say, "Oh yeah, I love this." Some people might hate pink. And it's like so we would never do that. So I always say that. So, what do you have a favorite candle scent or scent in the
I
home that you like?
do. I
All right.
I absolutely do. My favorite candle is True Dawn, a French candle maker that's over 400 years old.
Wow.
They made candles for Napoleon and Marie Antoinette. They're
Wow.
fabulous, but one scent is Ernesto, Ernesto, Ernesto. So I have it in a diffuser when you walk in the door. I have a candle burning in my living room. I have a diffuser in the bathroom. It is just, oh, I absolutely love it. But
I'm
they've
so glad
just released a
I
new
asked.
one. Yeah, so try that. That's for
So it's
me,
called
that's my absolute.
True Dawn. True Dawn.
So the candle maker is True Dawn, Trudon, True
Oh,
Dawn.
oh, okay. I said True
It's
Dawn.
yeah,
Okay.
True
True.
Dawn.
Okay. Got it.
And the scent is Ernesto, and it
Okay.
is just so yummy. I prefer slightly more masculine scents than really really ultra floral, but everybody has a different taste. We sell their candles, and there's just many of them under cloches, and I love the experience of people coming in and seeing what resonates with them. They've got some. One scent is and like an extraction from the floorboards of Versailles. So they've literally taken the scent of the floorboards of Versailles. So if you love going to France and you want that
Oh,
um,
wow.
timber smell, you
Yeah,
can get that. It's beautiful. So, but Ernesto,
that's me.
what about
Actually,
you?
I would not know what you were. In because there's a smell that I love. I would have not known that you could like you just described the floorboards and making that scent. There's a smell that I love I'm in Northern California, but we built a house in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it's called DC Ranch. So when we bought, it was an old ranch and it hadn't been built up. Now it's built up, and you wouldn't know it was when we bought it was empty, but it smelled like a ranch, and I just loved that smell, and it was just
Oh, a bit
all of
smoky.
a
Is
sudden
that a
I
little bit?
visualized what.
Is it a little bit smoky, like the smell of
Yeah,
timber, wood, and is that
and
the
a
sort
little
of feel?
horse, yeah, and horse, like a little bit. You
Ah,
felt like you were on a ranch, and it just, I don't know. I can still picture the day we went to took some friends to look at the property and it was still, they were the little kids now, they're 28 and 31, but they were, sitting on the little wood horses, and
oh,
it just made this really
gorgeous.
wonderful, just, I loved it. So to take that and to make it a candle,
Into a
but
candle.
yeah,
Yeah.
it
Have you
was
still got
really.
the brand?
No, so they now there's just how there's I mean we built a house, and it's a huge development with different houses on it. You don't
Okay.
smell that smell. That smell is long gone, but it
Okay.
was nice to
But
have that
evocative.
opportunity to have that, and I have that memory I'll always have with me. It was such a time in our life too when the kids were young, and we'd spent a lot of time going back and forth, while they were young, and it was just so
Oh,
fun.
special memories. If I come
Yeah,
across a candle scent like that, I'll send it to
yeah.
you.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
So what are some budget front? People are buying 1, 2, $3 million homes, and they are first time home buyers. Our area is so
Yeah.
expensive. Now they have to buy some furniture, and they don't want to bring their cheap apartment furniture with them. How should they start? What's a way to start? And are there any? Just give us an idea of how they can start to build, and where should they
Yeah.
start?
Yeah. If they were starting from scratch, not bringing things
They could
or
bring some. They could bring some, but
yeah.
yeah, just
Okay.
give us an idea.
I think it's sometimes it's smoke and mirrors. I do think, and I do love to decorate that way, where it isn't. You work with a budget, and you can invest in things like a really good bed, a dining table, because you look at, and a lounge. You look at the key thing that invest well there. Because if you buy a sofa that has a 10-year warranty, you're guaranteed it's going to last 20, 30 years. Anytime you buy anything that's well made,
Right.
you can recover it down the track. You can slip cover it, but get a really, really comfortable, well made sofa, a really comfortable bed. The bed head, you can change up again. That's not the expensive part, but the bed itself. And then you can repurpose other things. So your dining chairs, yes, comfort. I don't understand how you could buy a lot of these things purely online without testing first.
Right.
But I have got clients that have said their children are a little bit disposable. They'll just buy it online because they want it now. It turns up not happy with it. They sell it on Facebook Marketplace. It's a waste of time, energy, and not good for the environment. So
Right.
go to a showroom, sit in your chairs, test out the sofa for both for people who are living there, if it's a partnership, because what a woman might like in a sofa, her partner might like something different, and vice versa. So invest well in those key pieces, because you will take them with you onto your next home, or at least resell them because they've got a good brand and a warranty. And make sure that they're comfortable and practical. And then your ancillary pieces, if you're on a budget, things like you can look to flea markets, auction houses, and Facebook Marketplace for coffee tables, side tables. You might inherit some pieces, but as you did with your entrance console, you can repaint things with something like an Annie Sloan paint. It's amazing what you can do in a weekend by repainting things, bookcases, even the way
What was
the
you called something?
paint.
Some, yeah, the paint.
Hey guys, just
Yes.
before we continue, I'm so sorry, but we're over time. We gotta wrap it up.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
shame.
I
Okay,
know.
Annie Sloan.
Auntie Sloan. Okay.
Annie Sloan, because you the beauty with Annie Sloan is you don't need to prime it. You can just paint it straight away. So that's a good one.
Well, I knew we would go on. I still didn't get to all my questions, but we're gonna have to wrap it up, and then we will do a part two.
A part two.
Yeah. So how does someone get a hold of you?
SuzieAndersonHome.com is our website, and all of our socials are on there. Suzie Anderson Home on YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest. We're there. So I'd love to hear from you. Any questions, please send me an email.
Thank you so much. I put you all over social, and I'll continue to do so throughout the weekend. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and I look forward to getting you back on the podcast.
Look forward to it. Lovely to meet you, Deb.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Tune in each week for another episode of Mastering the Art of Real Estate with host Debbi DiMaggio. Here Fridays, noon Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network. Tune in to where real estate matters matter.